This Steve Jones Show podcast is now loading. The Steve Jones Show podcast is presented by Sunbury Motor Company, Purdy Insurance, and Brewers Outlet. Bringing you an in-depth look at Penn State sports and more. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. The Steve Jones Show is presented by Brewers Outlet, Sunbury Motor Company, and Purdy Insurance. Now from the Sunbury Motor Studio, here's Steve Jones.
Great to have you with us on this Tuesday. This half hour brought to you by our good friends at Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket. Imports, domestics, microbrews, the best selection of beer anywhere. Wine coolers, water, soft drinks, snacks, lots and lots of snacks. There was their peanuts fresh and hot every day, 6 great flavors of slushies, and the pickle bar led by the barrels and the dills, indeed second to none. All at Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket. Neal Coolong joins us. Welcome, sir. Always a pleasure.
As always, the pleasure is all mine. I hope you guys are staying cool out there.
Yeah, hanging in there. Got one more day of this, and then it gets back into the normal range. How about that? Yeah,
it's good.
Not bad.
You want that this time of the year. Normal is good.
Okay, so the Aaron Rodgers says it's not definitive, but he feels that, hey, look, there's a chance it's going to be his last year, and it's a 1-year contract. Okay, so I mean, let's start with that. Okay, and when you look at that, can you put I can see the logic from his point of view. Like, I'm going to be 42 in December. The Steelers only signed him to 1 year, so I can see that part of it. All right. How do you view the logic of it, Neal, from the point of view of what the season means and what you can and maybe might not be able to do?
I think, you know what got me thinking of was how you see, not all the time, but far more often in other sports, veteran players retiring closer to, call it the replacement level. They're serviceable in a lot of ways. More of the issue is they've been making $20, $25, $30 million a year. They're not going to make that anymore, and they don't feel that it's worth playing another year. When it comes to quarterbacks in the NFL, they aren't typically retiring on top, so to speak. I mean, I know Peyton Manning won a Super Bowl, but he might be the worst quarterback who's ever won a Super Bowl in the season that he won it in. He was horrendous that year. Tom Brady's last year, not good. Ben Roethlisberger, Matt Ryan, Phillip Rivers, Eli Manning. These are legendary, if not Hall of Fame, very close Hall of Fame level players. Quarterbacks in the NFL don't end on top. So if Aaron Rodgers is saying in June, and presumably this has been his thought the entire time, that this is the last year, I'd say that's a more negative sign from him than anything else. Coming into a year in which the Steelers are, you can't define it anything more than a transition. They don't want him They don't want him for 2 years. They didn't sign Justin Fields because he wanted a second year of guaranteed money. They weren't going to give it to him, even partial, which is what he got from the Jets. They're looking to move on from whatever quarterback they have this season, next year. The writing's on the wall there, so there's definitely a fit between those two. But the idea that Rodgers, as a player, feels that this is it. This is his last dance. It fits, I think, where we saw of him physically. It's just more, is that an indication that he hasn't put the work in? Because he knows at this point now it's running out the clock. It's the last day of school. You're not bringing books. How much work is he going to put into it? Now, of course, he's going to tell you up and down that this is what he does, and I'm sure that's the case. But this is also the same mindset that would have you thinking more of your legacy rather than your next minute. And when it comes to preparation, you're not going to survive in the NFL if you're not doing that. So if it's more of a mentality of, a farewell tour, or, you know what, I used to put in 18 hours a day on this. I really don't feel like it now. This is it for me. I've already come to a conclusion. Well, you've already retired in your mind. And this is kind of what Chuck Noll meant when he said, if you're considering retiring, you already have. I think that's sort of the message that it sends off. Now, it's Aaron Rodgers. Contrary to his own view on the matter, I don't know if he necessarily thinks through everything before he says it. And having a very visible media spot on a weekly basis 12 months out of the year, probably not the best idea in terms of sticking to the status quo of what you probably should say, to not create the narrative, not create the questions that now have to be asked and answered. That's kind of the way that he approaches this. I don't think that he necessarily cares. What I know is we'll find out very quickly whether or not physically and mentally he's going to be into this. I don't know. Let's be honest. It doesn't take a whole lot for a quarterback in the NFL to be at the average level, which is to say the 16th best quarterback in the NFL is not very good. It doesn't seem to need to do a whole lot to be not very good.
Right.
We'll see where he falls in that spectrum, but I don't have a ton of faith that you're looking at a real high-level player, certainly within the best division in the game in terms of competitive quarterbacks. So there's a lot to go through still. We'll see how much leeway he's going to get within the offense. If they can really draw up the stuff that he can do well and limit him from having to do the things he doesn't. But I would worry for sure the level of preparation that he would have would sink day to day. But at the same time, the Steelers made this bed. They wanted a quarterback for 1 year, so this is kind of what you're going to get if Rodgers is the guy that you wanted.
I mean, he's not there to sell tickets. That's not an issue. It kind of makes you ask, okay, what is the plan? So, Neal, what's the plan?
I don't know. And I say that with a lot of experience because I'm not sure what the Steelers' plan has been the last couple of years.
Yeah.
What I know is the things that they have done that seem to be connected to a more longer-term purpose have failed miserably. They've had a collection of bridge quarterbacks. This might be the best bridge quarterback that they've had. It might not be. I thought, and this goes against this goes against popular opinion because of really how the season ended, but Russell Wilson was by far and away the best quarterback the Steelers have had since Ben Roethlisberger. At the same time, that turned back into a pumpkin after, 12 games, whatever it was. Mm-hmm. I would feel more of the idea now is finding something that can get them through this season because they know a large part of their future is going to hinge on their ability to find a quarterback. You've got a good quarterback draft next year. They've got a lot of mid-round picks coming up, which are not replaceable with the top picks, but it does suggest they have the scratch to be able to handle having a complement of young players come in. They're cheaper. They're functional. You want to bring them in because they're cheap. You can fill out your roster that way with young talent that you're developing, and then be able to justify giving up premium picks to move up and get the guy that you want. That is to say, I don't think that they want to bring in 11 rookies next year. I think they're going to move some of these picks. They have the capital to be able to do that. If they finish, say, I don't know, the 18th overall pick, they can move up presumably to 12, by using some of that extra capital that they have, coming from compensatory picks, coming from the George Pickens trade. They'll have the ability to do that should they feel the need to do that. I think that's what their plan is, and I know that it's storybook-like for some people, the idea of drafting their next quarterback in the first round in Pittsburgh in front of their home crowd. Well, they did the storybook thing with Kenny Pickett, and that didn't exactly work out very well. So I don't think that's so much the case. It's just that they have a good selection of quarterbacks ahead of them in this draft. There are some very good ones, I think, with everyone else. Quarterback, only so many teams are going to draft a quarterback in the first round, so the market is a lot smaller. That can push a very good player to that 10, 11, 12 range, somewhere in there. That's happened plenty of times. Patrick Mahomes is one of them. If you can make a move to get up and get a player that has that type of potential, you're going to do that. I think that's what the Steelers kind of have their eye on right now. If they have to stay wherever they are, that's assuming somehow that they finish 8-9, 9-8. Certainly not a guarantee. If they finish worse than that, they might not have to use that capital for that. Maybe they can do something else with their pick. Take a quarterback and make other moves within that round, within second, third round. They'll have options next year. Therefore, I think this year is really just about let's put the best defensible team to our fans that we can on the field. Let's be as competitive as we can be. We're not going to try to lose, but we also know that our future is really going to be determined next year more so than right now. That's why it's okay for us to have a one-year quarterback that we're apparently both on the same page. It's absolutely only going to be 1 year, not a Mitch Trubisky, you failed after 4 games to just sit there and collect checks until we might need you due to injury in the future, 1 year deal. Something legitimate for them that can quite literally bridge the gap from this year to next year.
What are the Bengals attempting to do here with the contract? I mean, look, I wouldn't have drafted Stewart to begin with. But that's just my personal evaluation. But are they trying to set a precedent for other teams here? I mean, the Bengals act like they have no money, but they have as much money as everybody else in the NFL.
They're getting the same amount of revenue sharing as every other team.
Yep.
They're the only team that's mandating that their guy sign this clause, which first, let's just put it out on the table. I agree 1,000% with you. Stewart that's an interesting pick. I see reasons why, and I see reasons why not. For the Bengals, that's a tough pick for a variety of reasons, but they need that type of player. So they have him. The absolute last thing they needed was any kind of contract dispute that keeps him away from the team, and that's where they are now. So his rookie year is gone, and I think because of that largely, that makes them dig in even more over this. And the idea of really where the guaranteed money is being allocated to, this is a battle between both sides that's far more about precedent than it is about the actual language of what they're asking them to do. And as I understand it, it's about what injury guarantees would be paid out when. And to get to your point, just about Cincinnati kind of crying poor over everything, they're talking about a hypothetical situation. The money is guaranteed either way. It's when it would be paid out. They, I guess in a sense, maybe they're I don't know. I'm speculating. They feel they've got a big balloon payment coming up. Maybe they do. Maybe they plan on, that's going to be when they'd have to pay out a bunch of money to a lot of the guys that they just signed. They don't financially feel like that's in their best interest if it even happens. But he would have to be hurt, basically permanently, for that to be a major factor. It doesn't seem like it's that big of a deal. And at the same time, from Stewart's end, why should I sign something that nobody else has to sign? This is what you guarantee me anyway. Let's just do this the way it's supposed to be done. And you have probably, again, speculating, union pressure on him, a stance that they can't really take in the position that they're in, but wanting to know that Stewart, you're setting bad precedent if you do sign this. And the reason I say that is because that's what happened with Joey Bosa back in the day when he held out. The Chargers didn't want to pay for certain guarantees at certain times, and he said, no, I can't really do that. This is what everybody else is getting. This is where I should be with it. So to me, I think it's a dumb situation that it's going to be more on Cincinnati than anybody else. I don't think it's on Stewart at all. But the frustrating part is Stewart, I would hope, would realize and has been told he needs reps. He absolutely needs to be on the NFL field and figure out how they are doing things. That's not to say that everything is minicamp, but that's when you set up everything you're going to be doing in training camp. He doesn't have that access anymore. He's not able to really have worked with the coaches to that point, done the things that they're going to do, really kind of sink his teeth into what his role is going to be and how he's going to do it. If you don't have that, you show up to camp, you're doing that when everybody else is a step ahead of you. If there's any kind of setback when you're in the basic level class, everybody's at the 200 level class, you've still got to get through the 100 level class. Go through all of that. You basically missed training camp. Not missed it physically, but you're not where everybody else is, so you're not going to get on the field. You don't get a whole lot of snaps. You're not really all that advanced by the end of your rookie season, and then you're doing it again in year 2. And maybe by that point you've put something together. Hopefully you can, but that really gives the team, 2.5 years of a cheap contract for your first-round pick to get him to the point where he needs to be. That's assuming there are no injuries. And I'm also talking about a basic level, kind of standard level first-round pick rookie, which Stewart isn't. Stewart is way behind in terms of technique. In terms of experience. He only had, 6 sacks or something like that. His pressure numbers weren't particularly great. He's just a physically outstanding prospect. A guy like that is a gamble. He's a project. He's got a lot of work ahead of him, a lot more than I would imagine several edge rushers within this class. So without that work, without that time to really grow, he had to be on a rapid timeline. And instead, he's the opposite of that. So a very frustrating situation overall. And considering that Cincinnati's already engaged in a battle with Trey Hendrickson, they might be in trouble simply by the fact that they're going to have the worst pass rush in football the way that it sits right now, which sounds reminiscent to a team that had a far better offense, I think, than they were even given credit for last season. Nearly made the playoffs with no defense at all, and I'm not sure their defense really improved. So it's a very frustrating spot for Cincinnati to be in right now.
I mean, their quarterback and wide receiver combination is the envy of everybody in the league. There are guys that are right with Burrow and so forth, but to have that combination of 3 guys, there are going to be a lot of 38-35 games.
And they're games that they lost last season quite a bit. you know, I can say this. I know Jamar Chase, I think, is second to Justin Jefferson as far as the best receiver in the game, and there's not a huge difference between the two of them. You're perfectly happy with either one of them. Yeah. The Steelers wanted T. Higgins. I know that they wanted T. Higgins, and they would have paid him what they paid Metcalf. If they were able to get him now, Frank, that would have been a huge deal. So you're looking at 2 guys that are over the $30 million average plateau within the league. That's the level of respect that they get. They're that good, and they're worth every penny, in my opinion. You put Burrow on top of that, these guys are, to put it mildly, going to be difficult to stop in their passing game. You don't have any ability at all to stop the other team with less talent from doing the same thing. And to throw another year, now they're all expensive. Keep that in mind. They had these guys cheap. Were able to put together a nice run, make it to the Super Bowl, came close to winning a Super Bowl. Haven't sniffed it since. Missed the playoffs last year. To waste another year with all of that, it would be maddening, just considering these are all things that really you should take care of. If you're investing that much money, it really kind of means you got to invest more to balance everything out. You've got to put something worthwhile on the other side of the ball, and I'm not sure that they've done that. And not that Stewart would have, but the Hendrickson situation, you probably should have figured out already anyway. And if you did draft his replacement, you took the rawest guy that you could have, and now you're basically running a clown show as far as his contract goes, guaranteeing he's not going to be valuable to you this year. mismanagement in several ways, in my opinion, for what would have been an excellent offseason, one that I didn't think that I wasn't giving them the benefit of the doubt. I didn't think they'd get all the moves done that they did, and they did, but the Hendrickson thing should have been resolved by now. They're banking on it. They're banking on him playing. I feel like they're going to have to trade him at some point, but they don't have anybody else, so they really can't. That gives Hendrickson more control over the situation than they would probably want him to have, and they don't have anybody to back him up. So this could go south in a hurry for Cincinnati.
And to their credit, it is. All right, so, Neal, always a pleasure. Thanks for working everything out today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, guys.
The great Neal Coolong joining us on the show today.